look at any current weather map of India, you will see a single dark red mass stretching from Gujarat to Uttar Pradesh. Nagpur is at 45 degrees, Ahmedabad at 44, and Delhi at 42. According to data from AQI.in, 98 of the world's 100 hottest cities right now are located in India. Temperatures have surpassed 40 degrees Celsius across most of the northern plains. On the 27th of April 2026, Banda in the Bundelkhand region of southern Uttar Pradesh became the hottest place in the country, with temperatures hitting a scorching 47.6 degrees Celsius. The India Meteorological Department has been issuing warning after warning, but the hottest months haven't even arrived yet. But why is India so hot right now? And why is it getting worse faster than almost anywhere else on Earth? Let's take a look at the top 5 reasons for why this is. But before we do that, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Just Learning if you want the latest updates on the science of daily life. Number 1. Global warming and India's vulnerable position. The first reason is, of course, global warming. Climate change is a global phenomenon, but it doesn't affect every place on Earth equally. India is in a uniquely vulnerable position. Geographically, India is a tropical country. It is already hotter than most nations to begin with. If it were a temperate country like Canada, the people living there would have more time before the climate got too extreme or uncomfortable. But increasing the temperature of India's climate by even a few degrees makes it lethal and almost unlivable. What's more is that according to climate models, India is one of the countries most susceptible to wet bulb temperatures. This measures how well the human body can cool itself through sweating. When humidity rises, sweat does not evaporate easily, making it harder to lose heat. This makes the heat waves that India experiences even more dangerous. A massive percentage of India's workforce works outdoors: agriculture, construction, street vending, etc. These are not jobs you can do from an air-conditioned room. Unlike countries in the temperate regions of the world, global warming is a very urgent crisis for India. The heat waves that used to happen once every 50 years are now happening every 5 years. The melting of Himalayan glaciers due to global warming is also something to worry about because it could lead to reduced rainfall and drying up of rivers in North India. This would lead to desertification, causing the Thar Desert to expand eastwards, which in turn would have disastrous effects on the monsoons, water distribution, agricultural patterns, and life of different communities across the country. Number 2. The second reason is reckless urbanization. Every year, millions of people move into cities, which requires massive expansions in infrastructure and housing, but that expansion isn't happening in a sustainable way. India is sacrificing the natural parts of its cities and replacing them with concrete furnaces. Consider the urban heat island effect. A rural area covered in soil and vegetation remains relatively cool because moisture evaporates from the ground, taking heat with it. But cities are made from concrete, asphalt, steel, and glass. These materials absorb solar radiation during the day and release it slowly at night. In a village, temperatures drop after sunset. But in a city like Delhi or Mumbai, the night offers almost no relief. We have cut down trees to build flyovers. We have filled every lake and pond to build apartment complexes. We have removed the water and the shade and replaced them with surfaces that actively store heat. And we have done this without implementing policies that would force us to build our cities in a green or sustainable way. There are no mandatory green roof bylaws in most cities. There is no national action plan that actually addresses our need for green spaces in the urban landscape. Take Bangalore for example. 5 decades ago, Bengaluru had a 68.2% green cover and it was aptly called the Garden City of India. But what's the green cover now, you might ask? 2.9%. You heard that right. Just 2.9%. And what led to this? Well, there was a sudden increment in urbanization post-1990s because of the Industrial Revolution. Post-2000, the government was pushing India towards the software sector, which led to further large-scale urbanization. And what paid the price for this so-called development was the environment. There are still 10 to 15 big parks and more than 200 smaller parks, but they are not nearly enough to help maintain Bangalore's climate. Every available corner of the city was placed with concrete, and this extends to its lakes too. Bangalore was also known as the City of Lakes, but over the last 4 decades, there has been a 79% decrease in its water spread area. This unplanned and reckless urbanization has led to the loss of ecology and biodiversity of Bangalore. And it is far from the only city in India with this story. Reckless urbanization means that even if global warming stopped tomorrow, our cities would continue to get hotter simply because of how we have chosen to construct them. Number 3. India's environmental policies. The third reason is the most harrowing. It is about policy, specifically about how India changed the definition of a forest. In 2001, the Forest Survey of India changed the definition of what they consider a forest from a complex ecological system to any land over 1 hectare with 10% tree canopy cover. According to this definition, a mango orchard also counts as a forest. A coconut plantation in Tamil Nadu counts as a forest. A tea garden in Assam, a eucalyptus farm, even Delhi's Lodhi garden counts as a forest. But the problem is that these don't fill the gap that forests do in our ecosystem. The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization also defines forests as an area with at least 10% tree canopy cover. But it explicitly excludes fruit tree plantations, oil palm plantations, and agroforestry. India adopted the number but dropped the exclusion. This means that on paper, India might have a 21.76% forest cover, but the ground reality is very different. These numbers can't offer our environment the same protection that real forests do. The actual percentage is sadly closer to just 3%. The 18% difference is made up of orchards and plantations that do nothing to fight a heat wave. Furthermore, laws like the Forest Conservation Amendment Act of 2023 are removing legal protection from actual forests. Take the Hasdeo Aran forest in Chhattisgarh for example. It is a vital 170,000 hectare biodiversity hotspot, often called the lungs of central India. But it is currently facing a severe environmental crisis due to the ongoing coal mining projects in that area. These projects threaten to destroy this forest's rich ecosystem and the lives of the tribal communities that have lived in balance with this land for generations. This isn't an isolated incident either. In Maharashtra, a mining company received approval to cut down 1.23 lakh trees for an iron ore beneficiation plant. Large-scale projects like the Mumbai Metro, the Coastal Road, and the Bullet Train project have resulted in the removal of thousands of trees, including ecologically sensitive mangroves in Mumbai.
Even as you're watching this video, the Great Nicobar Island Development Project is being planned. It will result in 130 to 160 square kilometers of rainforests and wildlife sanctuaries being destroyed, while also displacing indigenous Shompin and Nicobarese tribes that live in that region. And this is just one of the several such projects that are in the works right now. India's policies have sidelined our forests, environment, and people in favor of infrastructure that is cooking the land we live on.
Number 4. Super El Nino. Scientists have warned that this year a Super El Nino is brewing. You might be wondering what that phrase means, so let me explain. El Nino is a climate pattern that starts in the Pacific Ocean. Under normal conditions, trade winds blow from east to west along the equator. They push warm surface waters toward Asia and allow cooler water to rise near the South American coast. El Nino arises every 2 to 7 years when trade winds weaken or reverse, causing warm water to build up in the central and eastern Pacific. This disruption affects typical oceanic and atmospheric circulation, resulting in severe changes in weather patterns over the Indian subcontinent. A normal monsoon delivers nearly 70% of India's annual rainfall between June and September. But an El Nino year means weaker monsoon winds, fewer rainy days, delayed rains, and longer dry spells. Warmer ocean temperatures also disrupt marine ecosystems, causing fish to migrate to cooler waters and affecting fisheries and the livelihoods that depend on them. Changes in weather patterns can also lead to natural disasters such as cyclones, floods, and wildfires, resulting in significant human and economic losses. And of course, El Nino also means that higher than average temperatures will occur across India. In April 2026, India was already facing heat waves in 11 states. A Super El Nino could stretch this heat all the way through 2026. El Nino is a natural phenomenon that can't be controlled, but usually we can mitigate its effects with the use of early warning systems and economic strategies. However, if you consider India's situation right now and how the other factors on this list are also affecting our climate, dealing with this global phenomenon at the same time seems almost impossible. Number 5. Building of new data centers. India is in the middle of a digital revolution. Every week, millions of new users come online. We are streaming video, making UPI payments, running businesses on the cloud, and using AI. All of this requires data centers. And data centers require immense amounts of electricity and clean water to operate. The boom in the usage of AI across the globe in particular has led to big tech companies building more data centers to meet the growing demand. And where are these data centers being built? Of course, they are being built in India. India is now one of the fastest growing data center markets in the world. Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad and Noida are becoming data center hubs. We went from being at a 375 megawatt capacity in 2020 to over 1,500 megawatts by early 2026. These data centers aren't just being used to run AI, but it is undeniable that AI is a big reason why companies and the government are so set on expanding our data center capacity. Before we get into the details of how bad the situation is, let's take a look at why these data centers aren't good news for our environment. There's a few different factors we need to consider when it comes to the environmental impact of these data centers. Let's begin with how much energy they consume. A single large data center can consume as much electricity as a small town. That's a lot of additional energy, and this energy needs to come from somewhere, right? In a country as dependent on fossil fuels as India, most of the energy these data centers use comes with a carbon footprint. And what happens to this energy once it passes through the data centers in the form of electricity? Almost all of the electricity is converted into heat. And in order to keep the servers from melting, data centers run massive cooling systems. Those cooling systems use a lot of water to absorb this heat. And what happens to this hot water? To no one's surprise, it is dumped into the environment around them, further adding to the destabilization of the already fragile state our cities are in right now. It gets worse. The water these data centers use can't just be any water. There's plenty of water around India in the seas and oceans, but the water that is used by these data centers is the clean, processed water. The same water that you and I use in our day-to-day activities. Currently, more than half of India's data centers are located in water-scarce regions.
The water that is supposed to grow our food, the water that is supposed to keep us cool, the water that is supposed to keep us alive, is being used by these data centers so that ChatGPT can write terrible essays, emails, and scripts with no soul.
Google just laid the foundation for a $15 billion AI data center in Andhra Pradesh. And it isn't the only foreign company doing this. Why do you think they're choosing to build their data centers in India and not in their own countries? It's because our environmental policies aren't strong enough. These companies won't have to worry about the stricter regulations that other countries have and are using our country to essentially dump their heat. Indian companies aren't too far behind and are adding to this problem as well. India's largest data center with a capacity of 1.5 gigawatts is being planned to open in Vizag. Are all the resources we are throwing at these data centers and the environmental costs that comes with them worth it? We claim to be building the infrastructure of the future, but we aren't thinking about the future we will find ourselves in. So where do we stand? These 5 factors that we spoke about are not acting alone. They are stacking on top of each other and making our situation exponentially worse. A heat wave today is literally a matter of life and death. India is not hot right now because of bad luck. India is so hot right now because of bad definitions, bad construction, bad planning, and bad policies. All of these factors compounding onto things which are out of our hands, like certain global phenomena or India's geographical location, is why India is the hottest country in the world right now. I think the question we need to ask ourselves, what do we value and what kind of future do we want to build? Are we going to prioritize India's rich biodiversity that can't be found anywhere else? Or will we choose to build more data centers so that someone, somewhere, can ask it to generate an image of a Bengal tiger? Does everyone not deserve the right to live their lives with dignity? And whose job is it to ensure that our dignity isn't stolen away? As for how we can fix this, that's a topic for a whole other video. Let us know if you would like to watch a video about what the solutions could be. And if you have any thoughts on our situation, let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Just Learning for more.